Hello, I'm going to be talking today about the Scopes trial, and the Scopes trial is a great example of the fundamentalist modernist controversy that was happening in the early 20th century. So the Scopes trial took place in 1925, and it was a trial of the state of Tennessee versus John Scopes. Scopes was essentially accused of violating the Butler Act, which made it unlawful to teach human evolution in any state-funded school. The Butler Act was enacted in March of 1925, and the Scopes trial was held in July of 1925. The Butler Act was one of the main proponents of this trial. The Butler Act states, quote, "An act prohibiting the teaching of the Charles Darwin's theory of evolution theory in all the universities and all other public schools of Tennessee, which are supported in whole or in part by the public school funds of the state, and to provide penalties for the violations thereof. It specifically provided that it shall be unlawful for any teacher in any of the universities, normals, or in any other public schools of the state, which are supported in whole or in part by the public school funds of the state, to teach any theory that denies the story of the divine creation of man as taught in the Bible, and to teach instead that man has descended from a lower order of animals." End quote. The trial was staged in Dayton, Tennessee, to gain notoriety and public attention. The American Civil Liberties Union asked John Scopes to be tried for violating this law as a sort of test case. Scopes mentioned that he did not even remember teaching evolution in his school, although the textbook that he used, the textbook called Civic Biology, evolution was laid out in that textbook. The defendant, like I claimed before, was John T. Scopes. He was a substitute teacher who taught in Dayton, Tennessee from time to time. His defense lawyer was a well-known agnostic and radical lawyer named Clarence Darrow, and he was going against a famous lawyer for the state of Tennessee, William Jennings Bryan, who we know today. That name is very familiar to us. He was a 3-time presidential candidate, a known Christian lawyer, and a fun fact about Bryan, he did not actually lead a case for 26 years, and he took the Scopes trial. One argument that I find fascinating about Bryan during the trial, and he states, "Evolution is not truth, it is merely a hypothesis. It is millions of guesses strung together. It had not been proven in the days of Darwin." He expressed astonishment that with 2 or 3 million species, it had been impossible to trace any species to any other species. End quote. A great argument made against evolution. The trial, although the judge found Scopes guilty and John Scopes had to pay the fine of $100, the argument was not won. And the argument that came up in the trial was creation versus evolution. A lot of controversy about what should be taught in public schools. Should it be creation or should evolution be taught? This is also an issue that we still see today in our public schools. The case also brought up into light the fundamentalist and modernist controversy, essentially setting the modernists saying that evolution was not inconsistent with religion against the fundamentalists who said that the Word of God, as revealed in the Bible, took priority over all other human knowledge. There was a repeal of this case. Moreover, it was announced by the Attorney General that he would not seek a retrial, and this issue is still present today in our public schools. Thank you.